Hello and welcome back to RailRoads Online. So today we are here back doing the rank and reviews on locomotives. Looks like we have reached our way up to tier 3. So we'll be bringing you those today. And yeah, as you can see, tier 3 locomotives, we only have 2 of those. So not so many to do. Going to bring up the first one now with the class 48. Bringing it in, one paint scheme. Yeah. No massive options on the 48, obviously, as we all know, as far as paint or lights. We do have the smoke box options, but that's about all that's going on that one. So kind of get the base look there with the 48. And I guess we might as well just kind of kick it off and start talking looks for the 48 rank-wise. I'm kind of taking it all in yet at this point to honestly decide where I put the 48, because there are some flaws with the 48. You know, there's a few little trim flaws here and there. There are little things with the models. You know, I mean, there's like the little yellow shader lines and stuff.
Definitely looks a little plasticky. Like it doesn't have that metal. I mean, it's got a metal texture,
but not a shine. There's no, yeah,
it's just a little bit dull.
It's definitely not one of the more poppy or rich looking models. That's for sure. I think as far as the modeling goes, even like the paint on it, you know, I mean, the yellow paint with the doors is not really painted. There's just sections here and there. There's shading that's just, you know, a little bit off. You look at the front bumpers, there's little things here and there. So for me, I mean, I definitely can't give it more than a 3 for average, and you know, one could almost even sadly give the 48 a 2, even though it's a good looking locomotive. I mean, overall, I like the look of the locomotive, but it has flaws. So I guess I'll give it a 3. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds good to me too.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's below average because it's definitely not bad, but it's got, you know, if there's a loco out there that could use improvements, this is one of them.
It's definitely unique though.
Right, the look of the loco is great. It's the actual model, textures, colors. Also, you know, going into the use, one thing we do have to consider is into the looks department. You also get, you know, how many options of look do you have? Well, with this one, you got 3 smoke boxes. Or smokestacks, not even smoke boxes, right? So it's just a smokestack. So it's like that kind of plays into its look. It just doesn't have that many options. The color, I don't know that it appeals to a great wide variety. I think if it were black, it would probably be more appealing to more people. That's also,
and I don't think there's a headlight option either.
No,
it's just these headlight. Yeah, so it's just a smokestack.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a okay. But there's not, looks is not the 48's best department.
Yeah.
I guess is how I would
the word for it.
Yeah, right. It's the dirty one. All right, that brings us to sound for the 48.
All right.
So we got the standard bell. We definitely have a unique whistle. Gets bonus points for the whistle. I've always liked the throw to your whistle. I thought this was one of the best whistles back when this came out anyway. I definitely think it had an argument to be made for the best whistle in the game. Of course, it was one of the only ones that did sound definitely uniquely different when it came out. So I think that's huge. The chuffs and puffs seem to fit this loco pretty well, though I wouldn't say it's perfect by any means, but I think it does do well. So I guess for me, it's a 4.
Yeah, I'd say a 4.
Long story short, I want to give it some bonus for the unique whistle. I'm also not gonna say it's perfect because it's definitely not.
Yeah.
So all right, overall use the 48. For me, I got to give it a 4. I'm not even going to beat around the bush. Can't call it a 5 because it's not a super train, but this thing will do just about anything you want it to do, at least
Yeah.
at some level.
Like I said, workhorse fits this loco
Right.
really well. It
Yeah.
definitely, you can just have it do stuff and it will pull it. I mean, only when you get to the severity of the steeper hills, that's when it starts to struggle. But I mean,
Right.
if you have those like you have those little small Greg Sugar King cars, like you could pull so many of those with these.
Right.
Like it's not even funny.
Right. And then this thing for whether it's switching, whether it's road running, whether it's throwing another engine in there for a double header or any of the rest of
Yeah,
it, this locomotive kind of fits that bill really well. I mean, one could argue that this thing is really almost a 5, except
I
it's not going
mean,
to do your
yeah,
heavy duty stuff. Otherwise, this thing's a 5 almost all day, right? Until you're talking
yeah,
heavy uphill. Otherwise, 48's a great locomotive. I mean, I'll give
yeah.
it a 4 with the idea that really it'd be a 4.5 if I was going with halves. That's how I guess I would put it. All right, that brings us to cost, which, yeah, I mean, for me, the 48, you got to give it a 5 when it comes to cost because for what it can do versus the fact that it's still under $4,000, even with whatever option
Yeah,
I think you want to put on it, this for the money, this locomotive very difficult to
yeah.
beat.
3550 is the with the add-ons and stuff, but 3500 for the original price.
Right, just virtually impossible to beat for the price.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're looking at what's a cost effective the locomotive, you could buy one or two of these and pretty much do anything in the game and still be under, or right around that $7,000 mark in locomotives. So,
yeah.
all right, that brings us to power. Ooh,
It's got about 9,000 pounds of tractive
power
effort.
trade. But I got to be honest, I think it's another 4 for the 48.
Yeah,
It's got a lot of power, especially for its size. Definitely for its
yeah,
cost. It's not the most powerful. It's not the big powerhouse, so you definitely can't give it a 5. But I'd say it's above average.
yeah,
So 4 we go. All right,
yeah. I'd say four.
and then we get to a tricky one here with the history of the model, which I don't have a lot of complaints with the 48. I think more of the 48s, anything I would refer to as a bug for the 48, I think has more been buggy for the game, not just the 48. I don't think it's ever been like
Yeah,
it's just the 48 doing this. I guess
yeah,
there was the
yeah.
light.
Oh yeah, the
There,
light went
there
missing for a
was the
while,
light.
but
Yep, where the light was
that didn't
gone.
affect the performance. So that didn't affect
Definitely
how the
doesn't
train
affect the
ran.
performance, but it is part of the history
That is true.
of the loco. So if we're being fair, we do have the 48's lights disappeared, but the brackets were still there. There's still a hole in the roof. That part.
What do you think? How bad do you think that was?
I give it a
Do you think it
4.
was
Let's be honest. It didn't last
okay? Yeah,
long. For the most part, it's been pretty good. It doesn't have a perfect history, but it doesn't have a shady history. And like you say, even the bugs that were there that are unique to the 48 alone never really affected its performance. So,
yeah,
you could always still get in it and run it. And
yep,
even when the lights were gone, we didn't have night cycle at that time. So the lights being gone didn't really affect anything
yeah,
except
yeah.
you hit your head on less stuff. No, not really, because the shelf was still there. But you, you'd like to think so anyway. So, all right. Well, I think that's going to cap up our scoring on the 48. Let's see what kind of score we get here. 8 looks like 13, 17, 21, 24. Wow.
Not bad.
I'm already kind of shocked. I gotta be honest, I'm already kind of shocked. Well, because I'm just thinking back to some of our scores on the other locomotives, and I'm really pretty shocked. I guess that one didn't score a little more. That's actually unique, but I guess we'll get to that on the later when we get them all scored. Then it'll be cool to bring out, we'll put the head of each
The
tier
score
out
sheet.
there and
Yeah.
see what it really ranks at. So, all right, with that, we'll head on to the Mosca. Ooh. Yeah, one's got to give it credit. That's a little better echo on that whistle, just right off the bat. I know we're not on sound yet, but I gotta say.
Little slower.
And it's got,
Not too bad though.
as far as acceleration goes, yeah, that's definitely. But the 48 is like instant top speed. Yeah, I mean, virtually.
Yeah.
Where the
Yeah.
Mosca is going to be a faster loco, but it's going to take it some actual a minute to get there.
Yeah.
All right, so jumping into the looks with the Mosca. Hmm.
I think this is kind of close to at least a Eureka. The way everything shines and the way it looks so clean. It's like it's fresh off the factory floor. I mean, even the lining and stuff is even kind
Crisp.
of goldish.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crisp and it's got
It,
some shine to
it's
it.
good. It's nice and straight. It definitely does look like it's a brand new locomotive almost, but
Yeah.
I mean, hey, we're buying a new loco. So I definitely don't hold anything against not having the wear and tear on it. The model really does hold up pretty well. I mean, like you said,
Yeah.
even the pinstripes and stuff on this one hold up pretty well. I think there's one little not straight line I can see in the thing. Otherwise, I mean, most of it is pretty good. I guess I'm inclined to give Mosca a 5. I'm not saying I think it's the best looking locomotive in the game, but I don't think there's anything you'd have to fix here at all.
No, I I think it looks really good, especially with that shine and the boiler and
Yeah,
it's
and
the
even
brass has
like
got to
the
look like brass.
right. And the tender, I mean, well, yes, we didn't put a name on this one or anything, but it's got the right texture. This one has more of the right texture that you want to see. It doesn't come off totally fake looking. It looks kind of more like it was painted, which
Yeah.
is what I guess
Yeah.
I'm looking for. So, all right, sound for Mosca. That's one where I guess this locomotive stands up pretty well. It's got the best
Yeah, it's
bell in
got
the game, if you ask me,
that.
right? So you got the best bell in the game, and you end up with it's got a good reverb on the back of the whistle, right? It's
Yeah.
it's not the greatest whistle in the game, but it's definitely a little better than average. I mean, for me, Mosca, I honestly would have to say it's a 5 when it comes to sound too. I could almost maybe go with
Yeah.
a 4 because I would like to hear a little more chuff and puff. But I would say that about all of the locomotives when it comes to chuffs and puffs, except Montezuma. I think that's the only one to me that sounds on with the chuffs and puffs. It struggles to come to life, which you want
Yeah.
to hear.
Yeah.
But Mosca, I would give it a 5.
I would agree with that. It's pretty good sounding.
Yeah, it's got what I want to hear versus the normal everything else. And so in that
Yeah.
respect, I would give Moscow a 5. Sounds can always be better, no debate. A little more richer, a little more everything else, and that's in
Yeah.
sounds in general, I think. But for the game, this one I give a 5. All right,
Yep.
that brings us to use. It's here's the thing. It's a fairly useful locomotive. It used to have a problem throwing cars off, and at that point, I don't know that it was super useful, at least
Yeah.
for some players, right? Now that being said, nowadays with the cars not flying off all the time, stuff like that, Mosca's is pretty darn usable. We know that there's been some alterations in some of these over time as far as tractive efforts and
Yeah.
speed, that kind of thing. So, okay, taking all of that into account, Mosca's got to be at least a 3. It's definitely and probably a 4. I mean,
Yeah,
to me, what can't you do with it? It's probably not the greatest switcher.
it's got about 8,600 pounds of tractive effort, which is actually a little less than the 48. And this has got to haul around a tender as well.
Right.
But it's still like you can take stuff up a hill and still do just as much as the 48.
Bigger
It's
drivers,
a
so
good
less
middle of the
grunt,
road.
more speed. It's got a
Yeah,
little
pretty
less
much.
grunt, more speed. So yeah, okay.
I mean, yeah,
I think 4 fits.
yeah,
How
that
about
sounds
for
good to me.
cost? What do we got? I don't even
Let's
remember
take
what
a
this
look.
one costs. Actually, what are we at with this one? It's got to be around 4,000, huh?
3,600. It's only $100 more than the 48.
Than the 48.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
It was
cost wise, what do we give the 48 on cost? We gave the 48 a 5. Wow. We gave the 48 a 5 on cost. What I give Mosca a 5 on cost? It's only $100 more, but it's 1,000 less pounds of tractive effort.
No, I wouldn't give it that. This
Yeah, I
is
don't think
about
so.
average. So it'd be about a 3. I mean, for what you're getting, I'd say that's okay. Maybe a little bit too pricey. Maybe it should have been 3,400, but I mean, you are getting a lot more wood and a lot more water,
That's
so you get
true.
a lot more use out of it than the 48. So,
That's true.
what
And
you're
at the
probably
time,
paying,
especially when this loco came out, this thing was like the greatest value for dollar you could run, if I remember right. It was like, oh, 3,600 bucks in this loco will do everything. But then it's been, debuffed some, so this thing doesn't haul up a grade like it used to, that's for sure. But
yeah,
I guess I'm inclined to go with a 4. I mean, Mosca for value, you could easily see him charging, if this thing were 4,000, it still wouldn't really be overpriced.
yeah. So, yeah, I guess 3,600 is pretty decent, especially with the haulage that you get with
Yeah,
the
when
tender.
you consider, then you throw in the speed and the look. I mean,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
kind of getting a
yeah,
sports car that's shiny for really not a bad value. You know,
yeah. Four sounds good.
I like that. All right, that's gonna bring us to power, which to be honest, this is one where at one time, this thing could pull everything. If I remember
Yeah,
right, this thing was debuffed, and you definitely felt it going up the hills. So for me,
yeah,
speed it's up on, power it's kind of down on. I would give it a 3 when it comes to power. I think it's
yeah,
middle of the road. I don't think it's overpowered, but I don't think it's underpowered either.
yeah. Middle of the road sounds about right. I mean, if it had like a little bit more tractive effort than like or about the same as the 48,
Yep.
I'd say that would be a 4.
Yep.
But it's not quite there.
Yep. I
Almost.
totally
Not
agree.
quite.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm going. If it's got 1,000 less pounds of tractive effort than the 48, you kind of got to go. Okay, well the 48. If we gave it a 4, you kind of gotta put this one into the 3 range, just because. Well, it's 1,000 less
Yeah.
pounds, and we know that when it goes to going up a hill, this one's gonna do less than the 48. So
Yep.
you definitely have to take that into account. All right, and then that brings us to the history of the locomotive, which this thing, when it was the speed demon and it threw things off the rail, is definitely a shady part of its history. But was that the
It was.
model, or was that the cars? We could say that that's the cars' problem because they couldn't keep up. We
Yeah.
could say that that's the game's problem. That's not really a glitch to the locomotive. This was the first
Yeah.
locomotive that really broke the speed cap. Right, we
And
had
it
much
really
more
put a
speed.
test on the cars. That's
Yeah,
really all it did. It kind of just like, oh, let's see what we can do. But
I
yeah,
don't
it
remember Mosca
really
jumping
effective.
off the track. It just everything that was behind it jumped off the
Or
track.
even like in front of it, as in the
Right,
plow.
right. Yep. but I don't remember really the locomotive itself derailing. It was everything around it.
No,
So to me, the loco was doing its thing. It was the rest of the game that was not necessarily prepared for Mosca.
kind of like the yeah, kind of like the 48. It wasn't really the Mosca's fault. It was just kind of affected by everything else.
Right. Yeah, that is kind of how I see it. I don't see the model as being particularly glitchy. So in that respect, well, I don't want to say it's had a perfect history. I would give it a 4,
Yeah,
just because
yeah. I mean, it
it's
was
been steady.
yeah. I mean, it was frustrating not being able to run at full speed and constantly having to like make sure
Right.
that the cars weren't going to fly off. It
Right.
was a little hard to look forward. You always had to be looking back, but
Well, and a lot of
that
people
was
just wouldn't run it because you only had to run it. You could only
yeah,
run it at 3/4 speed or whatever. So, and well, I don't
yeah,
blame that on the locomotive. You still have to kind of take that into context of the history of
yeah,
the locomotive. It hasn't always been the easiest to use.
yeah. Even if it wasn't the loco's fault, it still
Right.
put a hinder on the loco.
Right. All right. Well, I think that finishes out Mosca. So let's see what we get a score there. 10, 18, 21, 25. Unbelievable. See, that's really weird to me because, okay, so we definitely have Mosca beating out the 48 by 1 point, is what it adds up to. We gave the 48 24 points and we gave Mosca 25 points, which is weird because, I'll be honest, if I had to rate the two of the locomotives just sitting there straight up, I'd say the 48 to me is a slightly better local. But then I'm being biased when I say that because for my own use, you can just jump in the 48, slam it, go. It's fast, it's quick, it's easy. If you're switching, it's got the power on the hills. But
Yeah,
in the long run, when you really throw in the fact that the 40 or the Mosca is a much better looking train, it's got a lot more
hmm
use really over the long haul with having the Tinder, and because it's quite frankly it's longer runs, it's all the rest of that,
yeah,
right? That realistically the Mosca is more universally usable per se than the 48.
yeah.
As far
I mean,
as
I think
Corning is kind of a shot.
that one extra point is the tender.
Yeah, the Tinder, the
Well,
look, it's
hmm
the look. I think the 48, if the model were a little more cleaned up, definitely would sweep it. But
Yeah,
there
yeah,
are clearly flaws in the 48 model. I mean, there's places you can go up to it. You can go, okay, well, there's yellow where there should be maroon or red or whatever you want to call the color. But
yeah.
there's definitely flaws in it, and I think that at the end of the day, there you go. I'm actually pretty happy with the score. I mean, it's yeah, makes sense. So there we go. That is tier 2 locomotives.
Tier three, tier
Or
three.
tier 3. I am so sorry. Yeah, tier 3. There's two tier 3s. That's what my problem is because I keep thinking that and I've been thinking it like all along. So, yeah, there's tier 3 locomotive rank and review. Say thanks, Zach, for insights, opinion, and help. And I think
Yeah,
we'll
no problem.
call that one a win. Say thanks for tuning in. Remember, if you get a chance, like, share, subscribe. Subscriptions are free, but they sure do help the channel. Y'all have a great day.